4 hours.
It can be very hard depending on what you go through tonight. This is just the beginning. Remember, these guys have been waiting for the opportunity to flex like this literally since they started their contest prep 16 weeks ago. He looks good. His midsection looks a little bit not as defined as I'd like it to be, but we can only compare him with what he's standing next to, and that's yet to be seen. Big Max Charles earlier in the year, Tim, won the Romania competition, I should say, going back a bit last year to close out the year. 2018, he qualified to get here by going all the way over to Romania, took the victory, and he's another one of those bodybuilders. I believe he's Haitian, if I'm not mistaken, that has a little bit of an issue trying to rip the skin up, thick skin. He actually turned pro by winning the USA Championships here in Las Vegas a few years back. But he's big. He's a big boy.
He's really grainy right there.
Max is one of those guys trying to establish himself here in Las Vegas. Does very well on the pro circuit, but when you get up against the best in the world and the elite, that's when the water gets a little bit deeper. You got to tread water a little bit harder. The knock on Max is that his skin is a little bit thicker. It's dark in color. It's hard to rip it up and get that ultra crisp detail that we're probably going to see on another bodybuilder like Hadi Choopan, known for having very thin skin, whereas Max notoriously has thicker skin, and there's really nothing he can do about it. If he tries to dye it down too much, he's going to be too small. He's a big guy. Got to carry the size. But he's faring well. He's one of the best in the world, so I can't rip him apart too much.
Now, I've been meaning to ask you this for the 2 weeks leading up to this. With all these competitions, when you were competing, there were only a few compared to what's all over the world now. When they've been through these international competitions and they get against the best of the best, is that a huge shock?
Well, we've all, you know, for every Olympian that steps on the stage, the goal is actually to just arrive in one piece. Max has done that successfully a number of times. Then the goal becomes, like, let me make a mark here. Let me crack into the top 10. And then you want to get into that top 6 and ultimately get that first call out. That's the goal. Just getting here is a job in and of itself. It's like no other contest that you prepare for locally, state-wise. When you get outside the country, you may have that opportunity to take out some of these guys that are a little bit lesser caliber, but Max is up against the best in the world. This is what he's been training all his life for, and he's going to find out what that feels like when you get into that first, second, and third call-out, because that's where it can be very humbling, but it really depends on where your frame of thought is. Some guys just getting here, that's Mr. Olympia. That's a victory in and of itself, because not everybody can call themselves an Olympian. But when the rubber hits the road, you want to get into those upper echelon call-outs and stand next to those guys that are glamorized and glorified around the world. And Max Charles stands alone. He represents his entire existence where he came from. You know, I mean, not a lot of guys come out of Haiti. Haiti was devastated over there when they had, I believe it was an
earthquake and a hurricane and just over and over.
Yeah, but he's got the luxury of training out in New York. He's got the East Coast Mecca out there. And he's doing very well so far.
Making his Olympia debut.
Oh, here it is.
Hadi Choopan.
This was one of the biggest stories of the week. Hadi Choopan finally getting his visa to come here and deciding whether he was going to be open or 212. Here's our first look, Sean.
Yeah, well, this was the story of the year regarding Hadi. Hadi has been taking 3 or 4 years trying to get into America so he can stand amongst the best. He almost took out Flex Lewis in Korea a few short years ago. He looks like he didn't miss a beat. He's definitely not a 212. For anyone was wondering whether or not he was a 212, you see the difference in the graininess of the skin?
Yeah.
Very thin. He showed up on time, and he looks very complete and in shape. He's gonna wreak havoc on some of these guys if they took this preparation lightly. Hadi Choopan's been dreaming of this moment. He represents an entire nation of Iran, the Persian wolf. Short in stature, maybe 5'6" on a good day, but as you can see,
oh wow,
thickly muscled from shoulder to shoulders. He's wide as a tank. The knock on Hadi, he needs a little bit more hamstring girth, but he's a big boy for being short in stature.
Now, this is one of these stories of the week as well. This is an international sport, it's an international federation. To see the acceptance and the excitement to have him as part of this Olympia is really heartwarming.
This is one of the sports, Tim, crosses color lines, religious, economic status. We embrace all athletes because we know that there's only one way to get here, and that's through hard work, blood, sweat, and tears in the gym, dieting, commitment. It's a universal language. And from the guy that wins to the guy that doesn't win, we all have that mutual respect. He's representing Iran very well so far.
And that respect in the gym is really something that we all, as a brotherhood, that we all, and sisterhood.
It's one of those things where you don't have to speak a language. We all know how to lift weights. We could train with people from China, people from Iran, and you don't have to speak. The universal language is, what do you got?
Yeah.
You know, how hard can you train? Speaking of international, this is the Czech Republic. Lucas Osladil, a former Arnold Classic Brazilian champion. Got some unique posing. We'll see that a little bit later on, I'm sure, when he gets into the actual posing round tomorrow night. This is the prejudging. So you just kind of hit mandatory poses. There's not really much of a routine going on. Looks a little flat here. Light in the bicep area, a little thin on the muscle, like wow factor. But he's a guy that gets in pretty good shape usually.
So night to night with the judging, if you come in a little flat tonight, do you have an opportunity to really move back up into that top 5 and top 10 if you don't peak both nights?
Yeah, you can. They used to call Phil Heath Mr. Saturday Night because he used to come in a little bit off on Friday and then he closed the door on Saturday. I watched Kai Green come back from the brink of defeat in Ohio against Cedric McMillan, who was leading at the prejudging, to take it over at the finals. Yeah, these guys got a lot to play with. That's why the judges, it's a first blush type of judging that happens tonight, and then you close the door tomorrow. So if you don't hit it tonight, you have a second shot. You can see Lucas, a little bit of, I don't want to call it flabby, but some loose skin on the lower back. He's got those unique glutes. There's nobody else in our industry that does that. So that sets him apart and makes him very unique. And you can see his legs are fully developed from the sides. But as a whole, he's put together a little funky. It's not the most pretty physique. And when you see his posing routine, you'll see he hits some very stylistically poses that none of the other guys do. And you can't take your eye off of how he works the stage
and highlights what he's got.
Yeah, and here we're talking about the Czech Republic. Again, the universal language here is it's physique art, right? So you don't have to be the biggest and you don't have to be the best, but we can appreciate the uniqueness of each athlete and what they bring. A little bit flat in the chest. You can use a little bit more upper pec. You can see from the rear, the back is not real thick and bubbly like some of the other guys with a little more muscle maturity. But he's not that far away from being a 212 bodybuilder. A little slight in the muscle size.
And how tall do you know?
Lucas looks like he's about 5'8", 5'7".
Michael Lockett.
All these guys are a little short. When you get next to him, Tim.
That's a little right at the top range of that 212.
Yeah,
is those 5'7", 5'8", is about as tall as you're going to see him.
Yeah, and Michael Lockett fits into that. And he's quietly and slowly knocked off a couple of bodybuilders. He's won over in Vancouver. He's won over in Chicago. Michael Lockett's taken out a few guys. Doesn't have the best structure. You can see he's a little bit slight in the quadricep sweep, in the quadricep mass. He's got some arms on him. He's got some traps on him.
Big shoulders. Yeah,
the shoulder, and that's the thing. He has certain things that you see, but it doesn't all flow like the prettiness of the physique. You get very critical here because this is about the best of the best. It's not what you don't have, it's what you have that's going to take you to victory. And Michael has some very good arms, some very good shoulders, very good traps. You'll see when he turns to the rear, the back is a little bit slight, and that's where these competitions are won and lost. Phil Heath, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, Lee Haney, need I go on? I mean, the Olympia is about having a back, and if you turn around and you don't have it, you are playing catch up.
Well, you were humble to say that there, but as a 12-time top 5 finisher, you were there. You had the big back with the striations.
I was lucky. I had conditioning that carried me against some of the bigger guys. You can see Michael lacks a little bit of the depth and the curvaceous terrain that some of the other guys with a little more maturity has. A little high in the lat department. Good tight waist. The quads, we like to see a little bit more flare on the quads. But he actually earned the right to be here by way of victory in Chicago.
I believe that's the Wings of Strength Chicago Pro.
Yes, absolutely. Tim Gardner puts that show on every year.
Egypt, Mohammed Shaban.
Talking about diversity again. We've had Iran, we had Czech Republic, and now we're headed over to Egypt. The Mr. Olympia is an international competition. Don't know much about this guy. New Jack, rookie, first time out. We've got to make sure he gets the tan right on his face to match his body, first of all, Mohammed. But he's representing an entire country of Egypt. So regardless of how he fares here, he's representing Egypt. The last known Egyptian was the magical Egyptian Muhammad Makawi. And Muhammad Makawi beat none other than Lee Haney when Lee Haney first made his Olympia debut in 1983, and Muhammad was barely 5'4".
Wow.
180 pounds on a good day. So you know that Egypt's tuning in, and they're really supporting this guy right here. At least it's a start. He got here by way of victory, and now it's a matter of just kind of finding out where he fits in amongst the world's best. But as you can see, he's got a ways to go before he actually arrives here to do some damage. Got the right structure. Conditioning just isn't up to par right now.
And I was talking about this with Linda. You get your pro card, you compete, you realize where you rank, and you go back to the drawing board, and then you come to the Olympia.
And then you go back to the drawing board again. It's like graduating high school, going to college, getting your degree. Now you got to go out into the real world to find a job, and you got to get that pedigree before you get that raise. He'll learn from this competition, one, by just living the experience, two, by reviewing what we're watching now when he gets home. Now, thank God you can go back and you can look at YouTube, you can look at Instagram. You can see this literally instantaneously and go, oh man, I never really saw my back. Okay, I need to work on my lower lats a little bit more. You know, I need to try to work on my glutes a little bit more. Some of us don't see ourselves from the rear till we see it on like TV.
Or we need to start another week or two out and go 18 or 20 or 22 weeks, because he's got vascularity that's right on the edge, front and back. There it is right there. Maybe a little extra water.
Yeah, there's a few things going on with his physique that he's going to have to iron out before he is in the conversation.
But so close. It was great to have him here.
From the USA, competing in his 20th Olympia. Former Olympia champion, the Blade, Dexter Jackson.
By way of Jacksonville, Florida, now living in California. Dexter's first Olympia debut took place in 1999, Tim. And naturally, like a lot of bodybuilders, he wasn't in the top 6. But all he's done over the past 20 years is just win 29 pro contests, 9 Arnold Classic championships. He has the name Legend already attached. He's already won some Lifetime Achievement Awards. I actually gave him mine back in 2014. He's living the dream right now, like getting awards and accolades while he's still doing it. Won a competition this past August to get number 29. Won this competition back in 2008. He's been 11 years for this moment in time to try to come back and get it. And now we'll get to the physique, okay? What I'm looking at, he's a little flat. The pecs aren't popping as well as they should, and the stomach is not as ripped as it normally is. Dexter is called the Blade for a reason. And the stomach is the area that really got him here, right? He's got the structure. The calves were never really there, but he won a Mr. Olympia without him. And he's won 29 shows without. He's beaten everyone in this competition without him. So he doesn't get criticized for that, because his genetic structure carries him through. He's got some of the widest shoulders and lats. He's got a very long insertion coming from the top to the bottom, but they're a little bit high.
Now, that August show was Tim Gardner's Tampa Pro.
Absolutely, the Tim Gardner.
And he was up against Luke Sandow.
And he took Luke Sandow to school, the New Jack. Dexter alone looks very well. This contest is going to be won based on the comparisons. The skin is just a little bit thick. We're missing that crispness, the separation. Normally those quads are a little more feathered and the pecs are a little more fuller.
But at 49, he's still having fun.
You cannot count Dexter out of this contest. So I've personally seen him better because he's won the competition. That was 11 years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you're only as good as the people you stand next to, and this contest has not been decided yet.
Let's see what Kuklo brought to this season out of Dallas, Texas.
The Texas King Snake was making light at the press conference. He was on the Shark Tank with his wife Amanda Latona, a former professional bikini girl, and now he is in the Shark Tank once again here in Las Vegas.
He went back to the drawing board last year with the intention of breaking that top 5 and making some damage.
Got here by way of winning the Indianapolis Pro competition, I think 2 years in a row to get here. And look at those quads. Beautiful lines, great shape. Turned pro here, like a lot of guys, by winning the USA overall championships. I think we got like 3 or 4 guys that have won the USAs to get here, and that was his last victory in Las Vegas. It's been a minute.
Now, these guys all come for the title of Mr. Olympia, but Rolly Winkler has been rocking his title of People's Champion. I think Steve is vying for that this year as well. He's loved by the fans.
He's a very likable, marketable bodybuilder, trained as a firefighter, EMT. Steve, again, he's one of those guys that needs a little bit more back thickness and hamstrings, as you can see when we've already looked at some of the other guys. And he's another guy that doesn't get the crisp detail that we're looking for from him. But he's got a very athletic and aesthetic physique that you can't buy that. You're born with it. So he's doing the best of what he can do. And I got to tell you, he's put together very well. A lot of guys would like to have this type of a body.
Now, conditioning from year over year, what are we seeing?
Well, he's been harder and he's been more ripped. This is a contest that sometimes you got to rise to the occasion, and sometimes you just get taken in by it that you flatten out. And I'd like to see what Steve looks like tomorrow, because he can eat tonight and fill up, and he might look a little bit harder tomorrow.
Pull a little water.
Pull a little bit water. I would tell him for sure we got to watch the water tonight, but he has to eat and fill up a little bit.
From the United Kingdom, Luke Sandow.
Okay, here's one of the stories coming into this week.
Yeah, representing the UK, and the last guy that was over here wrecking havoc was the Shadow, 6-time Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates. He was a dream wrecker for a lot of guys, and Luke Sandow came out of the box real hot and heavy earlier in March. He was third at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. Again, he was second to Dexter Jackson last month in Florida. So he's putting on some freaking flyer miles, flying back and forth, trying to compete.
Racking up those points.
Yeah, he also went to Australia, and you can see, I think it might have taken a little toll. It might have caught up with him a little bit, especially in the midsection. He looks a little bit soft. And from the back, you can see he's just not where he needs to be in the back department. Again, we're talking about the water under the skin, which is, in these competitions, again, are won from the back. So when they all get compared together, we'll see where he fits in this lineup.
Now, talk to the fans about traveling around to these international locations, or even across the country, and how your body just naturally can hold that layer of water traveling.
Yeah, well, a lot of bodybuilders try to get in early so they can get rid of that water by training in the environment. Las Vegas is hot. We're in the desert. Brandon Curry and Rolly Wink, they're training in the heat of Kuwait, so they have usually a little bit thinner skin, but you can see Luke is just a little bit off. There's a little bit of water that's just blurring what we need to actually see here at this Mr. Olympia. I love the vacuum. He's able to pull it all in. But again, he's going to have to stay tight throughout. He cannot relax his midsection, and he's going to have to play catch-up from the back.
From the USA, making his Olympia debut, please welcome Patrick Moore.
All right, what do you know about Patrick Moore?
Patrick's one of those new jacks, and the thing is, when you're coming in new, it's hard to know. I believe he works with Lee Labrada, if I'm not mistaken, but he's got a very pretty physique. Look at that vacuum, the big arms, the quads. He's got a bright future. I believe he won the California State Championships, Pro Championships, to get here, and he has one of the prettier athletic-looking physiques. Look at the quads. Look at the hamstring. That's what you want to see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is a nice debut. Tiny waist. Right, the
strided glutes in the back.
He's in condition. Tiny waist. The back opens up. He's missing the thickness, but he's got that width on the back that looks really nice and pleasing to the eye.
Lee was always known for his conditioning, as is an amazing story to me, Hunter Labrada.
Yeah. Father and son, IFBB pros. It may be just a matter of years before Hunter Labrada is in this Mr. Olympia Championships. Lee is one of the icons. Hall of Fame, right? Fashioned myself behind him my entire career. This guy is a taller bodybuilder, and he's along the lines of a Cedric McMillan, and he may wind up crushing a few dreams here tonight in his very first Mr. Olympia, which would be a nice feather to have in your hat to come back again next year and do the battle.
He's got a kind of a Mike Christian vibe to me with the sweep and the lines.
He's got the abs. Look at this. He's making a very nice showing, a little flat in the pecs. He's got big pecs, as you can see.
Oh, there we go.
He just doesn't have the thickness and fullness in the pecs. He's showing off the fact that he can do a vacuum, which very few bodybuilders these days can do. He's going to be in this conversation in the top 10, I believe.
That would be neat to see.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the USA, Cedric McMillan.
The one. Representing South Carolina, Cedric McMillan, I mentioned the other day, he's won over in Germany. He's won over at the Palm Springs. Lou Ferrigno had a competition. He won the Lou Ferrigno Championships. He's won over in San Marino, Italy. He's been all over the world just winning in the Arnold Classic Championships as well, while serving his country in the Marines, I believe.
Army.
Army. It's not. You can't take that lightly. Look at how pretty that is.
That is just beautiful.
The arms are full. The quads
Classic.
are full.
A lot of size, and it's just quality size.
Yeah, we were waiting for Cedric to arrive in this competition. This last-minute invite. Didn't have enough time to really do a full year's prep with his job, but he always shows up and shows us what we have been missing in the way of the classic bodybuilding physique.
But having been military and having a daughter that's in the Army now, finding the food on base or prepping, finding the way to live that Army lifestyle, when you have duties that call, being out in the field, those kind of things, it's got to be really difficult, which is, it's great that he was able to take the time off and bring in this kind of conditioning.
Yeah, he definitely has it. The card they're stacked against him, but look what he brings. You know, Lee Haney said he would be Mr. Olympia back in 2009.
He may yet have his day.
Yeah, and he's been here. I mean, he's got a slew of titles under his belt. This is the one that's eluded him. He's had one top 6 finish here in Las Vegas, and I know that he would like nothing more than to be called out with the top guys tonight. He's one of those guys that takes pride in his posing routines. I'm curious to see what he'll bring tomorrow. I'm quite sure, 100% certainty, that he will dry out. You see the sweat start to break out? That's water under the skin. When that stuff starts to come out in the next 24 hours, he may be deadly tomorrow night.
I watched from the webcast last year.
From the USA, John De La Rosa.
I watched from the webcast last year about how you pointed out the various competitors that were drying out literally as they posed.
Yeah, you see it in real time. And that's what prejudging does. You start to break that sweat, and you pull that water out, and then you watch your water on Friday night, and then Saturday you wake up and you're like dry because you're still going to the bathroom. You're taking in a little bit of fluid, but less than what you were the day before, and you're still posing and flexing. John De La Rosa, he's also been a victim of carrying a little bit too much water on game day. But somehow or another, he finds a way to qualify to get back here to the Mr. Olympia, and it's always one of those things. It takes another 24 hours before he dries out, right? 5'6", he's over 230, probably 200, closer to 240 pounds. I didn't ask him what he was weighing this weekend, but I got to imagine he's probably over 240. And again, the knock on John is the back, the thickness, the detail. He has really big glutes, right? If you didn't
really big
that.
glutes. And the striated glutes while we're at it.
Big glutes. He's out of New York, trains very hard, went down to Florida. I believe he transplanted to Florida to train down there and put a little bit more focus on his career, take it a little more serious. And look, he's here.
The ham separation's very nice as well. And what do you think of the sweep on those quads?
He's got phenomenal quads. Look at them, they're already separated. He won the Toronto Pro Championships, I believe, back in June to qualify for this Mr. Olympia. But John's one of those bodybuilders, again, two different physiques. Like, you see those quads, and then the chest is still trying to play catch-up. We need for this stuff to arrive on stage at the same time on this night for him to really make an impact.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the USA, please welcome Juan Diesel Morel.
Big Juan. Another Arnold Classic champion in Brazil and a two-time New York Pro champion. One of the few bodybuilders that stands almost 6 feet tall. So it's a little harder for these guys to pack on that muscle, but the vascularity is right there, bubbling underneath the surface of his skin. And Juan is one of those guys that he can peak like once in a year. So this contest has not been real favorable. He's automatically a top 10 in the world guy. You expect that from Juan Morel. But he has yet to really nail it on the day because he winds up peaking at the Arnold Classic in March, or he peaks in May at the New York Pro Show, and then it's a long run here. Looks very good.
He looks very good. Some great fibers and striations in that side quad.
Remember, I kept talking about the back, and that's where it's won and lost at. This is an area that Juan struggles in terms of overall completeness, and then also the width, and especially the lower back area. He's a trainer out of New York. He's dry in the lower back. You just don't see the fibers, right? You want to see that separation. Hamstrings are a little bit slight, but again, we've seen some guys where he might stand up next to them. What the judges are doing is looking individually at all these guys. Then when they start making the comparisons, these weaknesses, these flaws, they almost all get canceled out because everybody's bringing something different to the table.
Now that low back development, you know, showing it with the leanness is one thing, but that low back musculature development comes down to a couple prime moves that some guys just don't do.
Yeah, and you know, some of these guys don't do the deadlifts. They don't do the hyperextensions.
Ladies and gentlemen,
not everybody can get the lower back, but if you work at it, I could never do a vacuum for many years, but I was able to after practicing. I didn't have a lower back when I first started, but I got the Christmas tree 5 or 6 years into my pro career. It's possible. And speaking of progress, Brandon Curry is the guy that everybody was waiting for to arrive tonight. He won the Arnold Classic Championships in Ohio, Arnold Classic Championships in Brazil, New Zealand Championships, and he's also won the Arnold Classic Championships in Australia. Look at those arms.
3rd or 4th last year, where was he?
Brandon was 5th place for the first time. That's when he made his move. And people have started to sit up and take notice because he slowly has been making the right kinds of gains in all of the right places. The shoulders, the arms, the traps. You can see his waist is tiny and the back is wide. Another guy with the darker skin, a little bit thicker. He's never been known to have huge bellowing hamstrings and the calves are a little bit slight, but the playing field's level when you start talking about Dexter and Juan Morel. So those weaknesses are almost canceled out because the other guys aren't, it's not their strength.
There's some great width right there.
Yeah, the wideness of his back makes his waist disappear. It's the stomach that we got to watch, Brandon. And a lot of the bodybuilders have to watch the stomach in transition. Breathe in the chest, not in the lower abs. Nice pose. That's one of his signature shots.
That's a really great pose. So yeah, last year we had Brandon, William, Bonac, Rowley, Phil, and Sean.
Yes, we did. And of course on the outside was Dexter looking in 7th place.
Which is going to make these call-outs so crucial coming up.
It's going to be interesting because as I'm looking at all of them, again, I'm being hypercritical of him. Everybody's holding a little bit of water. You know what I mean? It's like I'm waiting for that graininess to come out. So I'm excited about tomorrow because they'll all be a lot harder. So far, nobody's jumped out to a lead to me. Individually, I can't tell you who's Mr. Olympia on what we've seen so far. This is going to be a contest, won and lost in the comparisons. And when we talk about big, Akim Williams, they don't get any bigger than Akim. Look at the quads. But what you're not blown away by is the midsection, okay?
Yeah.
That's never been one of his strengths. He's got some of the biggest legs, biggest arms, biggest shoulders. He's one of the bigger guys on the stage. But that skin is really, really thick. And that midsection needs a lot of work in terms of detail.
Obscure reference, Vic Richards.
Yeah, he's got a very Victor Richards-like look. And in the gym, he's Mr. Olympia, this guy. You put all the guys in their gym clothes, you got to go with Akim.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a silverback gorilla, one of the biggest guys in the gym. And he's strong. Look at those legs.
Just beautiful.
I mean, he can throw around some weight, but he's got to find a way to rip that skin up. And I just don't have an answer for him. He's been doing it long enough. He's a veteran. But that thick type of skin is very hard to really rip. That's a great shot for him.
Yeah.
That is a Victor Richards-like double bicep from the back.
There's a lot of mass. What do you figure, about 260, 270 at that frame?
Yeah, I mean, it's illusion again. We're sitting here looking at him, but he may be 280, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a big boy, and I know he walks around over 300 pounds, trains out of New York. One of the more likable guys. Don't let the muscle size fool you. He is a teddy bear. He's definitely worked on the legs. There's the cross striations are there. You see the pecs separate. It's the midsection that we come back to, and that's where he struggles.
Symmetrically, though, with that much mass, that was nice. That was a pretty package.
Very few guys walking around looking like a King Williams.
Your final competitor from Curacao.
Oh. Let's see what this jumps out.
People's champ, Rully Winkler.
Yeah, Rully by way of the Netherlands and the Curacao and in Kuwait. This guy's living all over the place, man. He's putting in work. Came off of a knee injury at the Arnold Classic. 3rd last year, People's Champion. He's holding the stomach in very well, as you can see. Came off a knee injury and tumbled down a few placements at the Arnold Classic in Ohio.
His silhouette last year, coming out of the hole that was the big O, was just iconic.
Was sick. Yeah, big guns. Nobody's got bigger arms than Rully Winkler. I'm not blown away by the detail, Tim. Maybe I'm hypercritical.
No?
I'm using that word a lot, but nobody's blown away in condition, and I've seen Rully harder than this. The good thing is that nobody's really ripped, so the playing field is kind of more level.
You know, as much as he wants that Sandow trophy and that check and the title, he's just happy to be here. He's just a genuinely happy guy.
I got to tell you, he's probably one of the guys that could care less if he got... I can't say that he doesn't care. He wants to win the show like all of us. But you couldn't tell the difference if he got dead last.
Yeah.
You know, coming to the Olympia for this guy is the dream come true. And he looks very good in his signature poses. That's a very nice back double bicep, but you can see the lower back is very shallow and very weak. He knows that. I'm not sure how to remedy that because, look, he makes up for it with the size of his arms.
The rear delts, the traps, everything is just beautifully detailed.
He's got body parts that overcompensate the lower back, but it's still a glaring weakness for a guy that big. And I say that by comparison to a guy like Dorian Yates, right?
Yeah.
He's doing a very good job of trying to control that midsection, keep it tight in between transitions. But you can see the abs disappear when he actually hits
there we go.
abs. Yeah,
that's a nice shot.
Yeah, a couple times it comes in and out.
So what is it about the Oxygen Gym in Kuwait that has all these major pros over there duking it out?
Well, sometimes you go where the best equipment is, the best environment, and also the best support team. And I can tell you, I've been to all the gyms. Those gyms, the O2 gyms that Bader Budai has, is like Disneyland for a 10-year-old boy. And if they had it when I was competing, I would have been making that pilgrimage too. It's a great training camp out there in Kuwait.
All right, that concludes all 16 of our individual presentations. What do you think, folks? You got some muscle on this stage. All right, we're going to break it down into groups at this time. We're going to have our first group of 5 competitors on the center line, please.
And this is just a first glimpse. This is not in any particular
4
order.
competitors on the center line,
They're just taking a look at them in comparison so that when they get to the point where they want to call them out selectively, they'll have a better idea. So this is in no way, shape, or form 1 through 4.
All right, our gentlemen in place. Let's send it down to the judges. Please welcome your head judge, Mr. Steve Weinberger.
Thank you, Bob. Gentlemen, front double bicep. Quarter turn to the right.
You've talked about this quite a bit. Now it's time to see what they look like standing next to each other.
Yeah, and again, these are not competitive call-outs. This is for the judges to submit in their head when they get to call them out.
Quarter turn right.
The ones they want to see compared, they'll have a better idea of when and why they want to call them out. Look at how wide Hadi's shoulders are from one to the other.
His legs from the back look stellar. They're really popping out there.
Well, if we're going to be Monday morning quarterbacking in this 4 call-outs, Hadi Choopan
relax, quarter
standing
turn to
out
the right.
in this 4. And that says a lot because you got William Bonac in that lineup. I said earlier that Hadi's measure is going to be William Bonac. That's going to be the guy he has to get by in order to get recognized.
Thank you.
When I came up, I had Lee Labrada. That was my guy.
Wow.
Hadi's guy is William Bonac.
And let's have our second group of 4 competitors on the center line, please.
Is Dexter the only one from your that era still competing?
Dexter's like a vampire. I mean, Dexter was around when they had the cassettes, you know, before they made DVDs, and you know they didn't have cell phones back then. You had a beeper on your thing. Dexter goes way back. Yeah, he's the one that's still out there living while everyone else is trying to on life support.
Because I know you competed over 3 decades.
Yeah. He's done it at a very high level for a very long time, and that's not mistaken. It's not lost on any bodybuilder who's done this sport.
All right, now we see the comparison.
Turn right.
You can see Michael Lockett. He's got certain body parts that stand out, but there's some of them that look like they just need a lot of work. Not a little, but a lot of work. And from the back, this is where Dexter Jackson normally it's lights out.
Oh, Michael Lockett looks good.
Oh. Yeah, see, Michael's got those traps, but then there's nothing else on the back. You see, he needs a lot more all the way down. Where Dexter, he's got that middle, meaty stuff going on, the nasty stuff.
Steve Kokolo had some nice width as well.
That served Steve well in his career. He's wide.
Also one of the taller guys. I think Steve's about 5'10", 5'11".
Thank you.
Yeah, he's pushing 6 feet tall.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Right this way, please. Tony will direct you off the stage. And our third group of 4 competitors on the center line, please.
Yeah, we're just kind of like analyzing these guys, but they're not being measured in terms of who won that call out. You know what I mean? The next round would be the one where they get actually scored.
And that is going to be interesting. We've got Big Cedric. We've got Luke Sando there. Jonathan.
Front double bicep.
And we got... more. Brandon's starting to get a little shine on him, if you can see him.
Yeah.
He's not adding oil. The water is starting to come out. Rolly is going to, the waterworks are going to start on Rolly too.
Juan Morel.
They're going to make them work.
Yeah.
And when they start working,
folks,
that water's going to start coming out.
Groups, the judges certainly got
For
the work
some,
cut out for
you
them.
get harder.
Once again, here at the Olympia stage,
You look like a mess.
this is your chance to help the judges in making that all-important first call-out, folks. Yell out the name of who you want in the first call-out.
Yeah, you remember from your days when they start working you and they turn you around and turn you around and turn you around. It's exhausting.
In numerical order.
Here it is.
William, Hadi, Dexter, Steve, Brandon, and Rolly.
That is a great first call out.
It was a predictable first call out. We thought Cedric might be in there, but I almost, with 100% certainty, know that Hadi Choopan being in there might have bumped him out. But the surprise in that call out, if I'm not mistaken, I heard Steve Kuklow's name.
He did.
That's the surprise of this first call out.
Hadi
And
and
Steve
Dexter
Kuklow
switch.
told me last night, I said, what's the victory for you, Steve? I want to be in the
Dexter and Rolly
first call out. So
switch.
one dream has already come true.
Well, now interestingly enough, one of your video hits in the last week said he's a sleeper.
Yeah, like Ronnie Coleman was back in 1998. Steve Kuklow is the sleeper, and now he's in the first call out. We'll see how he fares.
Gentlemen, spread out
Hadi
and hit a
Choopan,
front
though,
double bicep.
kept Cedric from this first call out. That's what I believe. Because Cedric might have been in this first call out if Hadi Choopan doesn't get a visa to the United
And
States.
Hadi looked
Front lat spread.
Steve is going to have to tighten up a little tomorrow.
Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? When you
Yeah.
make this type of comparison, you can see the small details of what someone has and doesn't have. And this is Brandon's shot.
That was glorious.
His front lat spread just opens up like a 747. And he's making William Bonek look small.
Side chest.
Rolly is flat. He's flat. He looks like he's soft right now. And he's missing the wow factor he had a year ago. I'm not drawn to him like we were a year ago. He's playing catch up.
One of my favorite phrases to hear coming up was barn door lats.
Yes, the barn door. Barn door lats. Well, I got to tell you, I don't know what else Brandon can do. He's brought what he needs to bring. Let's see how these guys all look. Because in the absence of someone like Phil Heath, there's no three-dimensional roundness and grainy hamstrings and crevasses in the back. So let's see who's going to wind up breaking out of the pack. And Steve looks really good from the back.
Steve looks
right
good.
there.
But as you said, this is the best of who shows up on that day with their best.
Yeah, so it's hard to compare against guys that aren't here. And I got to tell you,
Relax.
little William Bonet's holding his own in the back double bicep.
Back lat spread.
See how Steve looks against Hadi. Hadi's so wide.
Yeah, he's not even close to Steve in terms of weight. Hadi's a much smaller bodybuilder, but he looks bigger right now. So that's the illusion that Hadi brings to the stage. Steve's almost 6 foot. Hadi's 5'6", and he looks bigger than him.
Hadi's got, well, we're at, what, 6, 7 guys out right now? How many are sitting out there?
Yeah, 6.
So we know Hadi's top 5.
Yeah, there's no question. He's done what he needed to do. I've always said he's one of the top
Gentlemen,
5 guys
face
for
front.
sure. Now it's a question of where he winds up in this lineup. Steve's dreams come true because he just wanted to be in the top 6, top first call out. And
now we're switching around.
Yeah, now it's going to get interesting because this is where I think the rubber's going to hit the road.
Abdominals and thighs.
Brandon's in the middle where I thought he was going to be. He's got Rolly on the left, and he's got William on his left and Hadi on his right.
Rolly's abs look good.
Relax.
I think
Steve
William
and
Bonek
Dexter
has
switch.
Rolly.
Oh,
We're going to give the old man a good look here. It's interesting because you can't judge them when they're just standing there. The days of judging physiques in their silhouette and relax it's
Front
gone.
double bicep.
These guys have to be in the pose in order to critique them properly.
all right. William looks good just coming into it.
I like Hadi's quads are just sickly veiny and separated.
Really feathered.
Yeah, kind of a little bit high lats there. And then Dexter's missing that separation. You see the comparison there?
Relax.
Dexter doesn't have that separation in his quads.
Hadi and William switch.
Uh-oh.
That's a good comparison. I'm glad they're giving these guys the opportunity to stand next to each other because for so many years,
Gentlemen,
sometimes
side
you
chest.
couldn't get that comparison. And now they're getting the work that they deserve and the opportunities. Remember, Hadi's probably dreamt about this his whole life, to be compared with Rolly on one side and Brandon on the other. The visa would allow him to come here. And of course, William Bonek, man, he's earned the right to be in this call out.
Back double bicep.
Brandon looks good.
I think Dexter looks a little heavy around the midsection, especially from the back. It looks like his waist has gotten a little bit blocky down low,
Gentlemen, relax.
and the
Spread
skin is
out
getting
a
just a
little bit.
little bit loose.
Everyone take a step. Steve, take a step. Rolly, take a step.
In Rolly's relaxed position here, you can
Back
see he's
double
soft.
bicep.
The hamstrings are soft. The glutes are soft. He's just a little bit too soft by comparison to a year ago.
Let's see if they move Steve somewhere back on the other side of Rolly or...
Let me tell you something. I'm not going to be surprised if Hadi Choopan
Relax.
isn't one of the last men standing on that stage.
William and Hadi switch back.
Here we go. It's going to be interesting to see who that top 3 is and see what changes they make between now and tomorrow night.
Back
Absolutely.
lat spread.
If I'm going out on a limb right now, my top 3, and looking at what I've seen, I'm looking at Hadi, I'm looking at William Bonek, and I'm looking at Brandon Curry. That's my top 3. I don't know in what order until tomorrow, but
Side
right now,
tricep.
those guys are my top 3. I think Rolly's holding a little too water. I think Steve's a little too soft from the rear. And I think Dexter is just, he's not put together the way he should be in order to be in the mix tonight. But that doesn't mean that Dexter couldn't be 4th place.
Yeah.
He's in the top 6 as far as this call-out's concerned.
Relax, abdominals and thighs.
Which is some kind of record considering this is his 20th Mr. Olympia.
Not what he came for, but it is pretty impressive. He's a month away from 50.
Yeah, and you know, he would like nothing else than to stand in between Hadi and Brandon. I'd like to see that just for posterity's sake. You know
Did you see the obliques on that hit with Hadi?
Your favorite, most muscular.
It's coming down to the condition, man. And, you know, this is Rolly Winkler's shot. He owns the most muscular shot, but I think without the detail, the wow factor's gone. Look at the legs. The legs aren't a part of that famous most muscular.
Relax.
You know, I try to think back to other great bodybuilders of the era of the age that were still holding in their 40s. Vince Taylor was that master. He had that 5-year Masters Mr. Olympia run from 40 to 45.
Yeah, and then you had Albert Beckles. I mean, Vince and Albert Beckles are the guys that are the new Dexter Jackson.
But 49 years old, almost 50, to be top 6 again.
What he's doing is nothing short of amazing. And this contest has not been decided, in my eyes, after looking at what we just saw. So now we're going to see what the next level of competitors.
There's Cedric.
And don't be surprised if after looking at these comparisons that one of these guys tomorrow night, or even 2 of them, might wind up getting recalled out with what we just saw, which means some of those guys in that top 6 may wind up changing places with one of these cats. So that's to be seen. So what I'm looking at with my professionally trained eye, Tim, which is why they pay me the big bucks, is this is the call-out, a lineup that I think that Cedric should win.
Front double bicep.
He is one of those guys structurally that should win this call-out comparison. Luke Sandow's the only one I think qualified to knock him out of this, but I just don't think he brings the genetic structure to challenge Cedric in this lineup. And that's the advantage some athletes have. Sometimes you're just blessed with great genetics. It doesn't mean you don't work any less or any harder than the next competitor, but when you put all the pieces together and you have this shape, your eye gets drawn to it. And in this lineup right here, you get drawn to Cedric's silhouette by comparison to the other 3 gentlemen.
Back double bicep.
It's always hard for me when there's 4 and they start shifting people around to know who's in the middle.
Yeah, because you got 2 on one side and 2 on the left. But knowing these physiques and watching these careers, you know, Cedric's genetic gifts just take him to another level. This is Lucas's best shot. His back double bicep is the one that I think gets him to the Olympia. And then he kind of fades in certain other poses, right?
I can absolutely see that. Now
you got these 2 guys, and nobody's wider than Akam, but his skin is so thick you just can't see the crispness.
Side tricep.
Now that's a great shot for Cedric.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of some of the taller guys to get those lines that Cedric gets. Sometimes you get a little blocky, you get down in that 5'4" to 5'6" range. It's hard not to be blocky. And you get those big sweeps and those big lines like Cedric has. They're just aesthetically pleasing.
Right. Well, and Cedric's done a very nice job building up the pecs and the delts and getting big arms and those big hanging traps.
And thighs.
It sets everything off.
Oh, wow. Akam came to play.
Yeah, I mean, for Akam, he's done the best with what he has to work with, right? Again, if he could just bring that up into his abdominals and get some more intercostals and separation in the abdominal wall, he'd be in the mix. Lucas has some nice feathers on his quadriceps.
Relax.
Cedric's got some beautiful shoulders and some great separation.
And that's why he hits the poses that he does. He knows which poses accentuate those body parts.
Thank you.
And you can see Luke's hand down, his quads are just holding a little bit of film of water, and his glutes definitely holding water into his hamstrings.
You can't help but think at his age that he's got a lot of good years ahead.
Yeah, no question. He came on strong at the Arnold Classic this year.
Jonathan and Juan.
So this is the last call out. I'm surprised that we didn't see Patrick a little bit earlier. He's got such beautiful lines, and he's in good condition. And again, I told you somebody might rise up by tomorrow night. if anybody's going to rise up right now, I think Patrick might rise up. They might look at him a little bit more here.
Pop into that top 10.
Yeah, because I would have loved to see him in that last call out against Lucas and Luke Sandow and Lucas Oswaldale.
All right, fans, I know you're watching the Men's Open Prejudge. We still have the 212 coming up with Flex Lewis retiring from 212. We don't know that he's retiring from bodybuilding, Sean.
Correct.
That's an open title, and that's going to be really exciting tonight.
That's what everyone's sticking around tonight to see. This is our first introduction to real muscle with these cats right here. But the 212 is a barnstormer, and the finals are going to be interesting.
I was at Prejudge. It was tight.
Yeah, I know it was. It could go one of three ways on that 212 division. This one, though, is still kind of up to grabs. And mind you, they're going to come back.
Gentlemen,
this prejudging is not over. They're going to come back with the first group of guys
hit a front double
to take another look.
I like Patrick's physique.
He's got pretty skin color, too. That's not his natural color. That's a very nice color that he's got. And he's got the quadricep splits. He's got the abdominals when he hits the front double bicep. Big arms for a big guy.
Yeah. Yeah, the expo was packed. Meet and greet, the Meet the Pros press conference. This morning for Prejudge, VIP was full, and people watching from the wings was 5 to 7 deep.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Side chest.
I think people represented this year more than any other year in the past. I think it has to do with our sponsors offering all the things that they bring to the table and new companies coming into the fold. I mean, we're expanding every year, and that expo was ridiculously packed for a Friday. What's going to happen tomorrow?
It's going to be jammed.
Oh,
you got to come out if you can. Tomorrow, a lot of great celebrities. And then the Prejudge for Classic Physique, Men's Physique, Bikini, and I think that's it.
I think that's going to be a wrap, man. With this last group of guys here, I mean, you got to wonder, like, these are the guys that may be struggling to crack the top 10, okay? And I told you Juan Morel had to peak in June, in May at the New York Championships, and we had Jonathan De La Rosa over in June in Canada. It's hard to hang on to that, man. It's hard to hang on there. And Max Charles has had the longest time to try to get here since he qualified in November of last year.
Wow.
But we don't get the personal stories of the journeys it takes to get here. I would love if we can get like a 3-minute clip of each athlete to tell us about the trials and tribulations. I mean, some of us will probably be in tears with what they have to give up and sacrifice to get here.
I also like to hear, and we used to do that with the competitor profiles, I like to hear what they have to balance between family. Some of them have real jobs, Cedric being in the Army.
Yeah.
What you have to really do if you're not a trainer or a sponsored athlete to balance your life out and still get here in peak condition.
Yeah, everybody's got a different journey, but you know what? This sport is ruthless when it comes down to not even mattering because they only want to see this, the end result. It's an art show. You paint it all year and you unveil it in front of the judges and you pick the art that you like. And you have to deal with it.
Most muscular.
Well, and it's one of the things that's kind of hit and miss in everybody's mind in the art of adding tattoos. I just feel like these physiques are such works of art. They don't need any graffiti.
Yeah, you know,
want to see the striations.
And you never know where it's going to take you. You could be in the military and then get some tattoos, and next thing you know, you're a professional bodybuilder. You don't know. I mean, they don't mark it down. I know Dorian Yates used to have tattoos.
Barry DeMay.
And Mike Christian. I got mine when I retired. I got a small one.
As a young guy, before I knew I had bad genetics, I didn't get a tattoo thinking I'd be on this stage someday. I should have gotten some.
This, Tim, is an interesting call-out because we know this is not for the top 3, right?
Yeah.
And we know that this is not something that's 7 through 10.
So is this your shift pop up or down?
I honestly believe this is for the 6th spot. Maybe even 5th and 6th spot. Because you have Kuklo in there, who we said he was in that first call-out.
Yeah.
We got Dexter, who's got a right to be in that bad boy. He's earned it. And Lucas with his quads are bringing him.
I got to say, Dexter looks like he's hardening up as we speak.
Yeah. This is interesting. I think this is going to be like 5th and 6th place.
All right, Kuklo's hardening up too. Look at the veins coming in on his quads.
Dexter's wondering, what in the hell am I doing in this call-out? I'm telling you. The veteran mind of an Olympian is, why am I here? Who are these guys? It's not normal. Dexter's usually in that upper echelon. I don't think he's ever been compared to any of these guys right here.
Well, and the glory of any night, any given Sunday, is that you can't bring your Sandow from 08 and say, hey, I'm going to be over there with the other guys. You've got to earn it every time.
It's been 11 long years, and I think reality may be setting in. We know that Father Time is undefeated, right? We watched Muhammad Ali. We watched Michael Jordan. I mean, it comes, and it comes swift. But even still,
Back double
I think
bicep.
this is for 5th and 6th, which would be having Dexter fighting to stay in that top 6. And if he can stay in that top 6, he's still relevant.
Yeah.
He's still relevant. It would be an improvement from a year ago. So let's not discount the fact that while he might not be in the conversation for the top 4, I think he is
Back lat
fighting
spread.
to stay in that top 6.
Now, looking at this top 4, there's some mass, there's some conditioning, and there's some maybe tomorrow night. What are you seeing tonight that will keep people in that first call out?
Yeah, these guys are fighting for that comparison tomorrow night, I believe. And I think there's some structural things that you're just not going to be able to
Side
fix.
tricep.
Well, Lucas got some great quads. He's got some nice poses. His back and his upper pecs, I think that hurt him. While Dexter is struggling in the conditioning department, he's going to have to control that stomach, and he's going to have to show it off like he used to back in the day. That midsection is hurting Dexter right now. That's a shot where he should showing off his intercostals and his full abdominal wall. And you can see there's a little bit of protrusion at the lower abs, and there's no separation in the quads. Dexter used to have that, and we're not seeing it right now. And Steve is getting bold enough. You poke the bear.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to poke the bear. Steve is probably on cloud 9. He's standing next to legendary
Your favorite, most muscular.
royalty in Dexter Jackson. That's never happened for him. So Steve he's loving it, right?
And Steve loves his most muscular.
That's one of the shots I think that brings it home for Steve. Again, he's stronger
Thank
from
you,
the front than he
gentlemen.
is
Back
from
in
the
line.
rear. I'm curious to see how Dexter interprets that call out a little bit later on.
William.
That was a fun call out.
Hadi.
But this is where the rubber hits the road, Tim.
Brandon and Rolly.
And there's only 4. So that was a comparison, I believe, for 5th and 6th. And now we're talking our top 4.
And Rolly's up there. They've got him up there.
Yeah, he's fighting to be up there because I can tell you the other 3 gentlemen, those are my top 3.
Hadi's got to be over the moon.
I don't want to sound like Nostradamus
double
or anything,
bicep.
but those are my top 3 over here. And
I'm going to let you pick me some Keno numbers in a few minutes.
I have a feeling that Rolly's going to be pulling up the 4th. I'm not going to predict 1st, 2nd, and 3rd tonight. You got to come back tomorrow for that right here at digitalmuscle.com. Action starts Saturday night at 7
Front
p.m.
lat spread.
and all the questions will be answered. Hadi's quads are ridiculous.
We're getting some pre-answers right now.
Yeah. Look at Brandon. Pretty pose.
Side
athletic
chest.
looking physique. Got those big arms. His chest is full. Traps are hanging off the bottom of his neck. And this is his pose. He opens that side chest up, and Brandon seems to move away from the pack. And with William, I'm looking more at the deltoid and the bicep. And with Hadi, look at those shoulders and look at the arms.
Tricep is just popping out the back.
This is where
Back
this is
double
the contest
bicep.
between those two right there. That's the fight. But I believe that right now, I think Brandon might have a slight edge. I'm not predicting a champion, but I think Brandon might have a slight edge overall.
Okay, now from the back, Hadi's legs are very impressive.
Yeah, that's his strength, is his legs. He's a little bottom heavy in that department. Brandon's got that tiny little waist that disappears. Man, it's like splitting hairs, right?
It really is.
Back
Look at
lat
Hadi's
spread.
hamstrings.
So one of the things about the job of being a pro league judge that just isn't easy.
I've never had any desire. I'd rather be a critic than a judge because critics can be wrong. Hey, I'm not a judge. Hey, what the heck?
I prefer my job MC. I say their names and hand out checks.
There you go. Let these guys do the hard work and entertain. But look at Hadi from the back. That is a beautiful back lat spread top to
Side
bottom.
It really
tricep.
is.
He's got the calves to go along with the width.
Brandon's back had such width.
Yeah. Hadi's a little boxy in the waist, though. That's what's his Achilles heel, is that his waist is a little boxy. But he brings the condition as he hits that side tricep. The serratus comes in, the pecs come in, the abs, the delts. That's what you want to see.
Abdominals
And
and
Brandon
thighs.
has that pose down to a science. You see where there's a little bit of water coming out on Rolly? There'll be a lot more coming out if they continue this route because he's now starting to break into that water reserve. He's carrying a small, thin layer of water.
All right. I preferred Williams' quads right there.
Your favorite, most muscular.
And Rolly's quads. Those are big legs.
Yeah, there's no question. But the abs, you can see, start to fade. He's got to control the midsection. Hadi is hard as nails right in his pose. Yeah, Williams fighting back, though. This is a dogfight.
Thank you, gentlemen. Back in line. This includes round 1. Back to you, Bob.
And you know what?
All right, thank you.
I don't know who the hell's going to win this show, and I
folks.
typically like to pick a winner.
I think you've done pretty good.
Right back here tomorrow night, and we will find out.